EGR was working properly. And then unhook it and put it back the way it was. What happened was that so many of these people, besides just taking them off completely, to try to pass their smog test, they would put a blind plate across here. So that when the EGR valve was open, closed, or unplugged, or not working at all, it had no effect. No exhaust was ever getting into the engine. So the EGR was not working at all. So they put a blind plate in there. Or they would check to see if it was plugged up somehow, couldn't move open, or it was parked open, it was always running rough, and adding it back to made no difference to it. If that's the case, then there's something wrong with the exhaust gas recirculation valve. They actually would intentionally make your engine run rough. If it ran rough, it was fine. Weird, but that's what they were doing. Now I got around this. I had one of my trucks had these, and it had the old style. It would plug up. I just had two of them. You could, since this was just carbon, you could use carburetor cleaner to clean this up and rebuild your EGR valve. The spot center always tell you to do. But you can clean it up with carb cleaner. Just be real careful not get any carb cleaner up there on the diaphragm. And just work right around this area around the seat. Clean it. So I had two of them. I had one in the box and one in the truck. It would stay in the truck until I had to get my truck smogged every 2 years. And in 2 years, I'd take the one that's in the truck out, put the one in the box in the truck, and go get my smog check. And then I clean the one that I just took out, put it in the box, put it back on the shelf. And 2 years later, I'd trim it back. And so I wasn't doing what some people thought. I just put the new one in for the smog test and put the old one back in for daily driving. I didn't do that. I wanted to be sure the truck ran right. And so I would just trade it every 2 years and clean the one that I just took out. I kept that truck for 15 years. It worked fine, just for those two EGRs. I didn't have to buy a stack of gaskets. Where this bolts on right there has an aluminum gasket, and that's a one-time use gasket. So I just have a stack of gaskets. I just trade those out. When I got rid of the truck, I also included the gaskets and the spare EGR valve. Okay, now we have catalyst. This is another collision control. Catalyst is a chemical or element. It begins a chemical reaction, maintains the chemical reaction, but it's not consumed by the chemical reaction. And so we use catalysts in our catalytic converter. Most cars now have a catalytic converter. A two-stage catalytic converter is going to be handling hydrocarbons and carbon monoxide. We'll use either platinum or palladium. Platinum is a very expensive metal, more expensive than gold. Palladium is more expensive than platinum. But they're the catalysts that will start this reaction. Once the heat gets into the exhaust and the hydrocarbon and carbon monoxide hit this catalyst, creates a chemical reaction that will turn carbon monoxide and unburned hydrocarbon into water vapor and carbon dioxide. And also release a lot of heat while it's happening. The heat is actually pretty intense. On cars, we have to have a heat shield between the catalytic converter and the passenger compartment. Otherwise, the heat coming up from the catalytic converter will burn your toes while you're driving, or your passenger's toes. Call it passenger on the right hand side. On motorcycles, we tried putting a catalytic converter on the RZ350 Yamaha on a two-stroke. Didn't work too well. Catalytic converters in the 1980s were still running extremely hot, and they're right there by the operator's leg because it's a motorcycle. The exhaust pipe's right by your leg, and it's blazing hot. So if you go down, you can have you can get injured anyway, but this just makes it worse. Plus, the fuel tank is right there, and so this is wrong on a lot of levels. BMW helped fix that, actually. If you have oxides of nitrogen involved, a third catalyst, or a third stage is used. It's called rhodium. Rhodium is often used, besides in the catalytic converter, it's also used to make white gold. If you have a wedding band or white gold jewelry, white gold actually is kind of an off-white until you coat it with rhodium. And then it gets that bright silver color to it. It wears off. This used to have rhodium on it, but I think I absorbed it all from my skin. I do not know what the long-term effects are of rhodium. Ask me in 20 years. I'm still here. No, I should be. Probably still be here. This is what we did with motorcycles. You didn't have hovercraft? No. We had wheels. We liked it. Anyway, if all three pollutants, that's hydrocarbon, carbon dioxide, and the oxides of nitrogen, if all three of those are addressed, then you have a three-way catalytic converter. The two-way handles just hydrocarbon, carbon dioxide. We started adding another catalyst for the oxides of nitrogen in the late 70s, early 80s. And sometimes in your car, you would see two catalytic converters, one after the other. One had rhodium, the other one either had platinum or palladium. The modern ones have all three catalysts in one unit now. This shows the catalytic action, this side, where it takes the oxides of nitrogen up here on the top, the carbon monoxide in the middle, and the unburned hydrocarbon underneath, breaks it up during the reaction, and recombines into just straight nitrogen, carbon dioxide, and water vapor. Water vapor is at the bottom, nitrogen on the top, this is just carbon dioxide coming off. And a lot of heat. The way this is done here, there's another view of the same thing. Note the uneven surface inside, that's intentional. That increases your surface area. It is the surface area of the catalyst that creates this. Having a thick layer of catalyst makes no difference. You have the very thinnest layer of catalyst. It's just what's exposed to the exhaust. It's going to be reactive. And so they have uneven surface inside that increase the surface area to make this more effective. There's a couple ways to do this. The original way was to have pellets, ceramic pellets, coated with catalyst, either the platinum or palladium, and the rhodium is a three-way. So the exhaust would come in here, go through the catalyst in the middle, and then the treated exhaust would go out the other side. So oxides of nitrogen, carbon dioxide, and a number of hydrocarbons coming in here, react with the catalyst, and come out here as carbon dioxide, water vapor, and just straight nitrogen. Now this forces this exhaust through this basically a bucket full of pellets. This is going to cause some back pressure. And this is one of the pellets. We sort of cut open that part of the pellet converter. Most of them are using a honeycomb or we call this a monolith catalytic converter, where the coating is on this framework right here, like a honeycomb. And the gases go through that. That is much less restricted to exhaust where the pellets work. Actually, it improves the flow. It improves what they call a laminar flow. If you run something through a lot of straws like this, instead of one big lawnmower running around, it actually straightens out the flow of the exhaust out, reduces the turbulence inside by having a small things. And the inertia of the exhaust going out helps pull exhaust through. It's like a reverse ram air effect. We'll talk about ram air last week as well. So it actually flows better than just having a straight pipe. We also use this for water. Sometimes if you run water through this, a jet of water, it'll stay together. When you run water out of a hose or out of just an open pipe, it sprays out into like a pan like this. You ever see fountains where like a shaft of water will go and hold together going to another fountain? They do that at Bellagio, the casino in Vegas a lot. They run the water through something like this, and that gives it a laminar flow and holds it together. I always wanted to make a water cannon like this, squirt gun boards, one with squirt guns, and then with the super soakers. But that's all face-to-face, combat, water combat. I always wanted something that used compressed air or maybe shot a quart of water at once and slug and stay together. And so the other side can be on the other side of the football field. Bonk! This thing would go, and just this slug of water would come over and just shell them. I always wanted to do that. Of course, it would request